Hey there, fancy friends, it's Oliver, and this video is about a fencing book lost in time, Luigi Barbasetti's second edition of his Stossfechten. This was German, yes, because Barbasetti published his book about the saber and the epee first in German for his audience in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Das Stossfechten, literally thrust fencing, contrary to cut fencing, was translated later on as La Scherma di Spada, or the art of the foil, for Italy and the United Kingdom. And this is a second edition of Das Stoßfechten, or the zweite vermehrte and verbesserte Auflage. Till now it only existed as a manuscript for the actual book. You may be curious about how we got our hands on it or how it has looked like. Spoiler alert, it was a mess. I will put in some timestamps for you. If you're watching this, I guess most of you will know Luigi Barbasetti, so I do not want to waste much time introducing him. For those of you who don't know him, he was a very charismatic person and a very good fencer, and we could say that he was the man who spread Italian fencing and especially Rhodelian saber all over Europe. Last time I visited Wien, I was at the Union Fencing Club, the club founded by Barbasetti at his time in the Empire. The book itself is a great one. It teaches the complete Italian school of fencing with the foil or epee. From how to hold your weapon, the guard, the footwork, and a very clear and systematic approach of everything you can do with a sword. Basics like thrusts, parries, circle parries, beats, feints, and also special operations like the exit and tempo, the inquadrata or passata solo, and situational advisors like parrying and lunge position, and so on. It brings clear instructions and combinations to do. A book totally understandable for the modern user, not only for a classical fencer or Hemaists, even modern Olympic fencers could have their benefits from it. As I got this script round about 10 years ago, we did a year of fencing Barbasetti's Stoßfechten. It was a good and an easy start for all new fencer. Some of the new ones bought a copy and reread it, which is not always given even with small sword books. But Barbasetti is better written and structured for the modern reader. That time it was, by the way, when I started to fence right and left-handed, and even going on guard left felt weird. But today I do not want to myth it. Did you train left and right-handed too? What is different now in comparison to the first edition? The chapter History of Fencing was revised and a bibliography of fencing manuals and books was added starting in 1516 with Pauenfeind and ending with Hieb-Fechtschule, third edition of the Verein Deutscher Fechtmeister in 1914. Both with assistance of Francesco Novati's book, so the bibliography and the history of fencing. At the end we will find now a table with fencing terms in German, Italian, French and English. The book has also many advices added to the paragraphs known from the first edition. The biggest change might be the wording, because the University Fencing Masters and members of the Club of German Fencing Masters, Christian Seemann-Kahne and his brother Friedrich Seemann-Kahne, and also Max Richter translated Italian fencing terms into German fencing terms. While Barbasetti's saber book was full of Italian terms, the first edition of the foil and epee used less Italian terms, and we find other books about Italian fencing that did similar. The German translation on Masaniello Parise's book used Italian fencing terms in parentheses, and Walter Mayenrei's book on Italian foil has even none. But in fact, even for the German reader today, it will not be easier to read this kind of German fencing terms no one uses anymore. But to make it more different from the first edition, I decided to let it stay as the statement of the past zeitgeist. Also, it seems to be Barbasetti's wish, so who am I? And how does the manuscript look like? The manuscript consisted on 4 planes. The first one, the former first edition of Das Stossfechten. The second one is a plane in black ink on the surface, contained now several improvements, rewording and additional pages of handwritten notes and deletions. And it's that black pen that corrected the first S of a double S into another form of the Sütterlin alphabet, which looks more like an F to a modern reader. And because I wanted to keep that change somehow, I decided to use the SZ, which is a ligature of both letters and would be used today. And that's why you can keep apart both editions now way more easier. The third plane is red and seems to be the first one used by Seemann, Kahne and Richter for the German terms. A last plane in green and blue and sometimes pencil negates, expands and corrects the red changes. Yes, this is what I've done, transcripting all this into the book that it should be. But now let's start from the beginning. According to the article on Christian Seemann-Kahne's 70th birthday in the Deutsche Fechterzeitung from 1942, the planned new edition unfortunately did not come to pass due to the inflation. German inflation lasted from 1914 to 1923. These dates would correspond with the information in the present book. The last book in the bibliography is dated 1914, and in the preface, Barbasetti himself speaks of his 20-year stay in Vienna as if this new edition were his legacy before his departure. We cannot say for sure, but it seems reasonable to assume that the second edition should have been published in 1914-15. The more recent history of the second edition begins in 1996, when Günter Hofmann acquired this revised version of Das Stossfechten in an antiquarian bookshop. Hofmann himself is a collector of fencing manuals from various centuries, has been fencing since 1957 and has been teaching since 1965. In short, he is a passionate fencer above all else. His effort to publish the book about the ADFÖ failed, so he transcribed it himself and has been handing out some copies since 2005. And a good 10 years later, it was by chance that the name Luigi Barbasetti came up in a conversation of Rupert Sedlmayr and Tobias Zimmermann with the owner of another antique bookshop, who then mentioned that he knew a fencing master who had revised the author's book based on his handwritten notes. There was no question that we had to look into this. Rupert got in contact with Mr. Hofmann, which proved to be very interesting for both sides. With his work in Olympic fencing, without much contact with the world of classical or historical fencing, maybe none, He could not deny a little surprise at the interest in this topic. Thankfully, he agreed to provide us with the original manuscript, which we were finally able to hold in our hands in 2016. This is when the real work began. Rupert took the photos and I started to transcript the pages. It took a while, and because of the birth of his daughter, Rupert didn't have the time anymore to proofread it. Markus Wirth, you may know him from our videos, jumped in, but it took a while, as you could imagine. Thank you, Markus, for your effort. I would like to express our deepest gratitude to Mr. Günter Hofmann. Without him, this work would probably have remained lost in time. It is only thanks to him and his enthusiasm that we can consider ourselves fortunate that this book can finally be placed in the spotlight that it deserves. We would also like to thank him for his trust in us. We have carried out his task with the utmost care and due respect. Therefore, there is no one more suitable to whom we could dedicate the second edition of Cavaliere Luigi Barbasetti's work, Das Stossfechten. Do I have to say, link to the book in the description? And by the way, if you wanted to wear a polo shirt which did not say Nike, Lacoste or Prada, but Cavaliere Luigi Barbasetti, you're welcome. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.